commentators John McCoy and Steve Mackey.
And welcome once again to the Logan City Lanes for the 1985 Coca Cola Classic. And this afternoon, the women's competition begins. The competition today is between Lowe and Joan Lepp, and joining us once again is Steve Mackey. Steve, what's your preference in the first of the ladies' tournaments?
Well, I think Joan Lepp. She's won the State Masters in Queensland once, and Lowe hasn't been bowling quite as long. I think experience might tell in this match.
Joan Lepp is a housewife. She's been bowling for 12 years. Her highest game was 278. In 1982, she was the winner of the Queensland Masters. She was the runner-up in that tournament in 1983. She's represented a state on 3 occasions and has bowled twice in the TAA South Pacific Classic. Joan, I know you've been bowling for some 12 years, but your husband's also a keen bowler. Does that improve your ability?
Yes, I enjoy playing against him. We have many battles, and I enjoy the competition. We play league together, and the whole thing is good fun. We really enjoy it.
Lowe is a housewife. She comes from that glorious spot, Caloundra, on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. She's been bowling for 5 years with a highest game of 270, and this year was the Sunshine Coast A and Open Grade champion. Lowe, I know that bowling is a relatively new sport to the Sunshine Coast. Was it hard to drag yourself away from that sun and surf and sand to take up bowling?
No, it wasn't really. Even though we have such beautiful weather up on the Sunshine Coast, bowling is just tremendous. It really is. You know, it's a great sport. My husband also bowls, and he thoroughly enjoys it.
And it'll be Joan Lepp to lead off in the ladies' tournament of the Coca Cola Classic. Good prize money for this tournament. Winning lady receives $500, $350 for second, $250 for third, $200 for fourth, and $150 for fifth prize.
And it's Joan Lepp to start the match play format today with the first frame on lane 13. Let's see if it's lucky for her.
Well, not a bad way to start. I know both Joan and Lowe, the nerves were getting to them as they warmed up for the start of this game, and I'm sure, having had that first bowl in, that Joan would be feeling just a little easier.
Yes, I think so now, and particularly difficult for both of these ladies. They've never appeared on television before in a championship bowling match, and big moment for both of them. One of them could well go through the step-ladder finals here and get up with that $500 first prize. But here's Joan's first ball, and she started with a spare. And very pleased with herself, too.
And a sigh of relief from Joan. She thanks her lucky stars, and she'd be feeling a lot better now to get away with the spare. So the pressure is on Lowe, who'll be starting on lane 14.
Yes, and in this match play format, as we saw in the previous show, it's 2 frames at a time. So Lowe has a chance to put the pressure on to Joan with 2 strikes. Let's see how she goes.
Leaving 2 pins standing.
Yes, and it's a difficult spare too. It's the sleeper spare. The pin numbers are 2 and 8, and there's a 22-inch gap between those 2 pins. It needs pinpoint accuracy to get the spare. Look at that.
But of course, the view that the bowlers get, all they can see is just that 1 pin standing.
Yes,
it's pretty difficult to pick up both.
Yes, it is. It needs a shot right on the front of that front pin. And I think she's got it. She has. And Lowe also heaving a sigh of relief. So both girls opening up with spares in the first frame, and there it is again. Terrific shot. And also a confidence booster for Lowe. And only been bowling 5 years, as she just said, and making a name for herself up on the Sunshine Coast. That's not too bad.
Unlucky, just leaving the 1 pin standing, but it shouldn't present her with many problems to pick up the spare.
Yes, the crowd feeling for her then. They heaved a sigh of relief, I guess, that that other pin fell over, but also that the 10 pin did stand. So it's over in the right-hand corner, and she'll move over to the left-hand side of the approach and give herself plenty of room right across this 42-inch wide lane. And she's covered it beautifully.
That's well bowled, Elva. So again, picking up the spare in the second frame.
Well, now it's Joan Lepp's turn to go, and let's see if she's as experienced as I said she was a moment ago. 12 years of bowling as opposed to 5 years of bowling, but in a one-game match, it doesn't mean too much.
Looks good.
Well, Joan, one of the popular bowlers here. She lives near Logan City Lanes and does a bit of a tournament bowling down here. And there's her shot again. Ooh, almost got the 4-pin out. Well, one of the reasons that she might have left that 4-pin up is that these new tournament weight pins are brand new, straight out of the box for this particular match, and they're 3 pounds and 7 ounces, probably 3 ounces heavier than the pins you're bowling at in your centre right now.
So Joan trying to pick up the spare, and she's done it.
And both of them, after 2 frames each, looking quite at ease with the situation.
Yes, after the first frame, both having 19 pins and both getting spares in the second frame.
Yes, it's all square on the western front. On the western side, southern side of Brisbane, aren't we? I get mixed up sometimes. In fact, Logan City Lanes midway between Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
Just falls, so she'll again be left with just the 1 pin for her to pick up the spare. Let's have a look at the replay of that.
Yes, a slight backup ball, and there goes that last pin into the pits, and only the 5-pin to go for. That's the pin in the middle of the 10-pin triangle. And Joan, as all backup bowlers do, moving over to the left-hand side to give herself plenty of room at this spare, and she's covered that one. So errorless at this stage. 5 spares out of 5 shots.
They may have been nervous to start with, but I'm sure that most of those nerves are gone now as they've started in good form.
Yes, it was a great effort to get through into the final matches for Elva, in particular, the least experienced of all of the state finalists that bowled here recently, to determine the top 5 for this program, and she beat a couple of luminaries such as Sharon Gowing and Jo Ellen Day.
So leaving the 2 pins, again fairly closely grouped, and she should be able to pick up the spare.
Yes, I'm very surprised and very pleased that they have such good concentration under these trying tournament conditions. Big crowd here at Logan City Lanes for this match, more than 200 people, and they're all willing, these girls, to do the best they can.
At the end of the second frame, in fact, Joan had a 1-pin lead.
Covered the spare again.
Elva again picks up the spare at the end of the third frame.
Yes, she has an unusual way of holding the ball when she starts off, and we'll have a look at that.
So Elva goes back to lane 13 to bowl her 4th frame of the match. Oh, and that's a pretty nasty split.
Yes, and that was a tough break too. That was a tough break. Those pins flying all over the place, but their thumbs are almost out of the ball, but she seems to have a good grip on it. Got it out nicely on the lane. A little bit of a hop at the end there, but it's still part of her slide. But as I said, those pins are bouncing all over the place, but failed to knock either of those away, and this is going to present the first problem for Elva Lowe.
She'll take one out, but an open frame, leaving the one standing.
Yes, and possibly playing it safe that time. That's a difficult spare to get, and in a one-game match, you really should take percentage games here. She couldn't afford to get an 8 miss, and that 1 pin may well be all she needs. 64 now on the 4th frame for her.
Joan Lepp bowling the first ball of the 4th frame for her, and oh, so close to a strike. And
Well,
one pin, the 7 pin, looked as though it was going to fall, just wavered for a moment and decided to stay there.
Yes, in fact, many of the audience to the left-hand side of the lane thought that was a strike. And have a look at it. It's still rocking long after it's come back down on the pin deck. But it's not going to fall. Joan has to go for it and try and get her 4th spare in a row.
And that completed the 3rd frames, which saw Joan 2 pins in front. She now tries to pick up the spare at the end of her 4th frame. Well bowled.
Yes, good concentration there. The corner pin's always the most difficult to go for, and for a backup bowler, the 7 pin is the difficult one. Let's have a look at it now. Oh, no problem. She hit it right in the belly.
So Joan starting her 5th frame. And again, just leaving the 1 standing.
And again, rocking the pin, but it's not going to go either. And this time, an easier one. It's almost in the middle of the deck. The pin number 2. And 12 pins the difference. Joan Lepp the leader. Virtue of Elva Lowe's split in the last frame. An unfortunate occurrence for her.
Yes, that really, an open frame by Elva Lowe really left the game open for Joan Lepp. She's bowling well. Picks up the spare here. She does.
Yes.
Well bowled.
She looks so hesitant when she lets the ball go, but it usually, well, it always has gone in the right place. Let's have a look at that spare. Sliding away, but that ball just turns slightly as a backup into the pin at the end. Okay, we're back now with Elva Lowe.
Elva Lowe 12 pins down as she starts her 5th frame.
Takes a small first step and then takes off in a normal 4-step approach, and that's a good shot. That's the first time she's hit the right side of the head pin in the 1-3 strike zone, and has left herself an easy spare. I'm sure she'd be pleased with her performance in this tournament. She had a good year there with the A and Open Grade Championship on the Sunshine Coast, and I guess her hubby keeps her in trim for bowling a bit. Trevor bowls himself up at the Alexandra Headland Centre, and they practice together quite often. Well, she's got that one.
No mistake that time.
And looking over at Trevor then with a sigh of relief, as if to say another frame down.
And here's the replay of Elva picking up a spare at the end of the 5th frame, so she moves over to lane 13 to bowl the 6th.
And Elva bowling one of the plastic variety of bowling balls. There's many brands on the market these days, urethane coated, rubber, plastic and so on. This one's a plastic one, and the ball that Joan's bowling with is a urethane coated ball.
And again, the sleeper.
Yes, it's a nuisance of a spare, this one. A bane of many bowlers, and particularly bowlers who aren't familiar with the game. They hit that front pin quite often, and the ball jumps away and misses the back one, and they can't understand it. But that almost 2-foot gap between them tells the story. And Elva bowling one of the lighter balls as well. That doesn't help the situation. And that's the perfect example. I might have Jonah to there.
Yes, it's a particularly hard one to pick up. For the reason, of course, that the pin behind is that 2-foot back. Doesn't look that far when you're looking at it down the lane, but it makes all the difference.
Joan Lepp now.
And, well, how often has that happened to her? I think that's the 3rd time that final pin has rocked and rolled, but just refuses to fall for her.
Yes, that was a good ball too. Very good ball by Joan Lepp. She's looking sharp in this game. And let's have a look at it now. Watch how it spins around. Will it go this time? No, it's still up.
At the end of the 5th frame, Joan holding a lead of 13 pins. The second ball of the 6th.
Yes, well, of course,
trouble picking up the spare.
13 pins has been extended because Elva opened her last frame on that sleeper miss. So a handy leader now with just a few frames to go. And the winner of this match is going to meet Australia's #1 bowler for 1985, Cheryl Munson. So tough times ahead, but I would think that neither of them are concerned about that at the moment. They're just trying to survive one game at a time. Well, she's got a smile on her face, and why not? 20-odd pins in front with only a few frames to go. And there it is again.
Well, she'd no doubt be liking to pick up strikes, but if you can't get the strike, well, the next best thing is to just leave yourself with that one pin for the spare.
Yes, and John, that's excellent advice for our younger viewers. So many juniors I see these days in tournaments and leagues around the place. If they don't get a strike, they don't seem to care about the spare. And Joan, a perfect example of what a champion should try to do, get spares all the way up.
At the end of the 6th frame, Joan built that lead to 23. 23-pin lead, and again she picks up the spare at the end of the 7th. So Joan at the moment doing it fairly easily against Elva Lowe.
Well, it's yes, it is fairly easily, but gee, what a great lesson this is for all bowlers. If you can't get strikes, by all means go for those spares. Well, here's Elva now. Still not a strike between them. That's quite amazing. In the preliminary tournament here at Logan City, they were getting lots of strikes all over the place. They all had some 200 games, but they've certainly nudged the pins quite a few times.
I guess the difference was, Steve, that the qualifying rounds weren't being seen on national television, and that makes it awfully harder for them.
Yes, and we didn't have as big a crowd here, and quite a boisterous crowd too. They enjoy their bowling down at this neck of the woods. She's covered it.
So Elva starting the 8th frame. Oh, and again, leaving herself with that sleeper spare.
Yes, that's the 3rd time this game she's had that one up. And, of course, that hasn't helped at all.
Well, Steve is former Australian champion. What's the secret of picking up the spare when you're in this position?
Well, she's going to have to stand straight in front of it, as she's doing right now. That's exactly how she's lined up, and she's going to have to have good timing and get the ball straight on the nose of that front pin. And, well, look at that. A 10-pound ball is a problem for her. I think as she progresses through the game and through her bowling life, she's going to advance to a heavier ball and could well take a leaf out of Joan's book. She bowls a 15-pound ball.
Joan had a spare in the 7th. She's starting the 8th. Leaving the 2 standing.
Yes, that's the first time she's missed the head pin since the first. In fact, that's the first time she's missed the head pin. She didn't miss it in the 1st frame either.
At the end of the 7th frame, Joan Lepp still holding a 23-pin lead. She's bowling the 2nd ball now of the 8th frame. Picks up the spare.
Joan, one of the animated bowlers on the lane. She likes to ride the ball. If it's going to be a strike or a spare, she likes to get down and do what we call pull the string or ride it out. And having represented Queensland 3 times in the Interstate Teams Championship, the Rockway Trophy, she's very much used to crowd participation.
So she starts the 9th frame. She hasn't had a strike yet, but 8 spares in a row, and there's the 1st strike. Well, she deserved that.
Yes, she did. Get your spares and the strikes will look after themselves. That's an old cliche in the game. And let's have a look at the pin action here. Excellent pin action with that 15-pound ball. The ball only hit 4 pins, but the pins did the rest.
Joan having a 34-pin lead at the end of the 8th frame. Elva Lowe from the Sunshine Coast.
Well, that's one of the best balls Elva's bowled in this game, and she should be proud of herself. I think she's done quite well. She's had a couple of those sleeper spares, which could well have been 9 spares. They turned into 8 ones. So a good effort all the same. And hitting the right place, but you see the lightweight ball bouncing off the pins. Well, these two right in the middle of the pin deck. Plenty of room to move there. She should be okay with this spare. Which she does. Well, it's do or die time for Elva Lowe now. She's into the 10th frame coming up, and she has a maximum score of 168. I don't think it'll be enough to win the game, but it would be very nice if she could go out with 3 strikes. She certainly deserves a strike. I think she's bowled well enough to cash in once. Let's see what happens.